Like most of us, we listen to the music of Star Wars with the speaker on the window. What did you feel like when you heard the Emperor's theme from John Williams for the first time?
Oh, chills, of course. Yeah, and I think it's really Vader's theme. One must be generous about these things, right? But yes, the Imperial March I think you're referring to is a pretty amazing piece of work. But all John's work on Star Wars and all the other movies and in the concert hall is pretty remarkable. And you know, he's conducting wonderful orchestras all over the world still. He's a really extraordinary musician and an extraordinary performer. And of course, people, when they see me sometimes, and they don't think I would mind, they go bum 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 bum, you know. So it's familiar to me. But the best thing of all was watching John conduct it with the London Symphony Orchestra. That was, I think, for Attack of the Clones, that I got to go down to Abbey Road Studios in London and watch him in action. Fantastically generous, always precise. And they would do little bits. John had the screen in front of him, you know, and he'd already, of course, written it at home to time it out. And was only really beginning to see how it was going to work with this vast, wonderful orchestra. I think probably our best orchestra, the London Symphony Orchestra. And then when the choir came in, that was something else. And he's a perfectionist, and so were the other musicians. And after they do little scenes, little bits, they'd come in and listen, and they'd go, "Oh my God, this job, we're going to do it again." And George would go, "I thought it was okay, I thought it was good." No, we're going to do it again. That's the creative process at work. That's a wonderful memory too.
Thank you.
All right, what's your name?
My name is Dan, and I would like to know what it was like to try to pray away a dragon in Dragon Slayer.
Dragon Slayer. Now there's an experience. That was my first, well, there was one movie I did before that, I'm not talking about it. But Dragon Slayer was certainly the first big movie, first big American movie, although a lot of British people were in it, that I was involved in. And there were a lot of amusing incidents on that. For a start, they couldn't get the dragon in through the dock doors. That was a good thing. Well, they built, you know, you think he'd maybe come in about 5 sections and they could slot it together, you know, like those brooms, you know, clean the floor. But no, they built an enormous dragon, so they couldn't get his head through the door. So that slightly delayed filming for a while. And then, of course, when I had to be incinerated, you know, it's great fun doing the movies. There was a cast in my head available for the later shot, you know. But they said, okay, this is when he goes for you, the dragon. And I noticed that everybody in the studio was getting into these white suits, you know, except me. And I couldn't, because, you know, I was playing this, you know, priest. And you know, he wouldn't be wearing a white suit, he'd be wearing, well, you know, a monk's robe. So I was there in my monk's robe. Everybody, the cameraman, this huge sort of camouflage suit and everything. And above them was another man in a huge a huge white suit. And he had a flamethrower in his hand. And so, and the director said, he was American too, I'll do another terrible American accent with my apologies to you all. Here we go. I think we should just go for it, okay? Okay. Go for what exactly? My hair? Yeah. Anyway, we went for it. And you know, it was like being in the hottest day on a sunny beach in Miami, except slightly worse. But anyway, they didn't frazzle my face, but it felt like it. So that was Dragon Slayer. I also had, I'm slightly hesitating to say this, but I had this line which I thought might be a little tricky, and they might want to change. But they didn't. So I said, okay, it's my job, I'll say it. And now you must instantly look on your phones and find the moment when I say, unclean beast, get thee down. I thought that might be a little problematic, but the director thought it would be entirely delightful, so it's still in the film, so entertain yourselves later.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
All right, we have about 10 minutes left. Let's try to get through as many more as we can. What's your name? What's your question?
Hi, my name is Chris. First of all, I want to say thank you for being such a big part in the acting community and an amazing villain. As for my question, I'm actually wondering where you got the inspiration to start acting in general.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. It just sort of happened to me, I think. I was at school and they were doing a mime to accompany the choir singing Waltzing Matilda, famous, Australian song, great song. And it's sort of about a tramp, I won't cut a long story short, who jumps into a well, but refuses to die. And the choir sings, "You'll never take me alive," said he. And they were looking around the school for somebody to play this tramp. It's interesting I've just said this because I'm about to play another tramp in England later in the year, I just realized, but I'm diverting myself here. But various people said they'd like to try out for it. And I was a shy kid, and I was the last person to try out for anything, really. But I found this hand went up. I swear I didn't do that. It sort of went up. And so I tried for it and did whatever was required. And then I got the part. And I was 10 years old. I think I was a bit competitive because I kept thinking, I could do better than these guys who had no interest in acting at all. They were playing rugby or whatever it was, or concentrating on other things. So this thing sort of happened that was within me then, and it never went away. And then when I was a kid, I used to go to what we call them they're not there anymore, in Britain, variety shows, and there were comedians and singers and dancers and so on. And my uncle was a stage manager, so I got to go and see that, and also to see what was going on backstage. And every time I go backstage, I get this kind of thrill. And even coming to talk to you tonight, we walked around the corridors, with all sorts of people doing things they do, the opposite of being on the stage, being backstage. That excitement has never left me. But it was a case of it wasn't so much I wanted to be an actor, a professional actor. I sort of felt there was something within me that didn't give me the choice. It didn't say I was going to be any good or I was going to get any work, but I knew that I just had to do it, for better or for worse.
Thank you so much.
What's your name?
Franklin. And I have a question. What was your favorite line in one of the Star Wars films?
Yeah, there's a good few of them, really. I suppose. Well, I've just seen, I don't think you've seen it yet, but there's a teaser trailer coming out for the anniversary production of Phantom Menace.
But my favorite line in Revenge of the Sith was...
I'm sorry, yes, go on.
My favorite line in Revenge of the Sith was, "Henceforth you will be known as Darth Vader."
Yes, that's a good one, isn't it?
That's my favorite line.
I think that's probably a good one to prefer, really. Yeah. But I think apart from Do It, as I was saying, that when you see the sequence, you've seen it many times, but when they put the thing together for this trailer that's coming up, I end by saying, "Wipe them out, all of them." And I like the music of that line. I like the I in white, and I like the all in all. And also he says it's Darth Sidious. He's not down there yet, he's sort of, and the way it was filmed, it's in a hologram actually. I think that lives with me.
Great question. Thank you. Go ahead. What's your name?
Hi, I'm Stephanie. Long story short, I have met Michael Rooker, and he talked about how he really loved the extensive questions, but no one really asked just simple questions. So my question is, what's your favorite animal?
My favorite animal? Ooh, that's a tricky one. My instinct was to say the snake, for obvious reasons. But I think I'll go with the toad. For obvious reasons.
Hi, this question is for my son, Poe, in the audience. Okay. He's wondering if you were ever a part of any gags or practical jokes or bloopers that you could share with us.
I wouldn't dream of sharing the practical joke that I most enjoyed with you here. So I'm sorry to disappoint you. But, you know, in some ways, working on movies is a continuing practical joke that actors play on each other, you know. And some of the worst people at playing practical jokes are the most celebrated and brilliant actors. I think Judi Dench comes into that category. I won't tell you some of the things, you know, she plays on other people, or indeed some of the things she says, before she goes on to give completely remarkable performances. But the interesting thing about Judi, and a lot of other actors, is that they sort of do that before they go on, to relax themselves, and, you know, you'd think, why isn't she pacing up and down, doing her lines, you know, or if she's playing, you know, a tragic character, getting together quietly in a corner. That's not how she works. She wants the minute she goes on stage for this character to take over, and everything before that to be light-hearted and relaxed, and the opposite of tense. I think that's what it is. It's the way it gets rid of the tensions.
Thank you.
All right, I think we have time for 2 more questions. Hi, what's your name?
Hello.
Oh, it's Darth Vader. That's what you look like under that helmet.
Hello, my name is Wesley. As an actor, when you finally see the finished film, is there a disconnect in knowing that you've acted in some parts, or are you able to enjoy it as a first-time viewer?
Well, there are times when you want to kill yourself. And you think back to that day when you got up in that classroom audition for the Tramp, you know, and you said, you know, why didn't you get yourself a decent job? But my father used to say that. But no, I don't really think so. I think one of the most interesting things about acting is what you want to do is try and surprise people, you know, with a good script, you know. And the best thing about trying to do that is when you surprise yourself, when you're hardly aware you're acting, you know. I can put it better than that. Obviously you learn the lines and you're doing it, you're acting, this is you, there's no question about that. But sometimes, this is more true in the theatre, because you do it many times. You're on stage and you think, oh, I'm not doing it to it, it's doing it to me. There's nothing mystical about that, but it just sort of happens. And then things happen to you that surprise you about what you're doing. And with any luck, these are the best performances, and because that's when the audience is most held, waiting to see what you might do next, and hoping like you to be surprised by it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have time for 1 more question. This is going to be the final question of the panel. What's your name? What's your question?
Hey, my name is Amanda, and as a fellow Shakespearean actor, what is your dream role that you have not been cast in yet in the Shakespeare?
Well, you know, there's a big one hanging around, and if any theatre can ever afford it, and way back home it doesn't seem too likely in the immediate future, King Lear is the one that waits. And also, I'd be age appropriate, which is, so that's a plus. Because as you probably know, he describes himself as 80 and upwards. And I'm going to be 80 and upwards in August. That's not a secret, because I believe you go on the internet. You know.
Amazing. Thank you guys. Thank you so many incredible questions.
Really good
for joining us here in Kansas City. Any thoughts you want to leave us with here for this weekend?
No, it's just great to be here for the first time, and you know, people said, why don't you do conventions? That was a while ago, because as you know, I do a lot, and they give me great pleasure. And I was, well, way back to that classroom experience. I am, believe it or not, here I am talking to you with a microphone. I'm a bit shy. So I was kind of hesitant about meeting fans and signing things and all the rest of it. But then I started to do it, and I realized there was a lot of pleasure around. From fans, from people who'd been with those movies all their life, or bringing their kids up with them and so on. And it was nice to connect with them, with you, not as the Emperor, not on the big screens of the movie, but as me. So that's been the most pleasurable thing, I think, about doing those events. And talking to you here tonight, because I was a little nervous, here we go again, about coming on. Then the minute I go on, I get relaxed, and that's because of you guys. Anyway, thank you. Oh, and don't forget, do it.